This is the DTV Digest, the podcast that brings you news and reviews of films which didn't make it to the cinema. And now, here's your host, Mike Parkin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DTV Digest, the podcast which brings you reviews of films which didn't make it to the cinema and instead went straight to DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming media. I'm your host, Mike Parkin, and joining me tonight is Richard Hawes.
Hello, everybody.
And Stephen Lockeridge.
Hello.
And this week we have three main reviews. We're going to kick off with Money Plane. Then we're going to go over to Paydirt. Widow's Point is going to be our third film. And then we go into the short shot, which this week is We Die Alone. And our DTV throwback is going to be the Mark Dacascos starring Sabotage. So without any further ado, let's crack on. So our first review is Money Plane. Professional thief Jack Reese finds himself in the debt of the Rumble, a powerful kingpin when an art heist goes wrong. He and his team are forced to take on the Money Plane, an illicit casino in the sky. But as usual, not everything is as it seems. Okay, so this stars Adam Copeland, also known as The Edge from WWE Wrestling. I've seen a couple of his films now, and I actually quite like him as a leading guy. I think he's quite affable. You know, he can do the physical stuff, but he can handle his lines quite fine. But even better, we've got in the sort of supporting role, Kelsey Grammer as the Rumble, this sort of evil kingpin guy. And boy, does he chew up the scenery something brilliant. Over to you, Rich.
Yeah, and also amongst the cast is once again Thomas Jane. I feel like the show is turning into the Thomas Jane.
The Thomas Jane appreciation thing. Yeah. And
he's everywhere.
And very briefly, we also get a bit of Denise Richards as well, who, if you remember ages ago, was also involved in a film involving a plane heist.
Yes, Altitude.
Altitude, that was it, yeah.
But she was the lead in that one.
She was the lead with Dolph Lundgren.
And in this one, she's really got nothing to do.
Yeah, she's a token.
We need another name. Yeah. Can you just come on and do a couple of days?
If that, I think it's an afternoon, isn't it? Basically, what she does.
Quite possibly, yeah. She literally doesn't get anything to do. She's just the wife.
Yeah.
Thomas Jane is not massively involved in the action, but he basically sort of sits it out, and he's like all his scenes take place on the ground, sort of separate from the action. In one case, operating a drone with a gun, from the old Steven Seagal film Contract to Kill.
Yes.
See that back again. But still, even though he's only in those bits and bobs, I still think he brings a lot to it. I'm really becoming a big fan of Thomas Jane at the moment.
He does bring a lot to it, and he even sort of gets to smoke a pipe, you know, just to sort of give his character a little nuance, you know, which is quite funny as well. Sorry, Rich. Steve, what did you make of Money Plane?
I didn't see this one.
Oh, crumbs! Fuck. All right.
Don't worry, it's not like he told you that just before we started recording.
Yeah, I didn't say that 2 minutes ago, Mike.
I've got mine like a sieve. I'm on autopilot, sort of going through the motions. Sorry.
I'm gonna interject back. In.
Mm-hmm.
And so it starts out really cheap, and with it's supposed to be an art gallery heist, but it's an art gallery like literally in the middle of nowhere in an abandoned looking building.
It's a bizarre place, yeah.
Seems a bit strange.
But the whole film, unfortunately, does look a bit cheap. Even the Money Plane itself.
Oh, the Money Plane is so cheap.
It is incredibly cheap. I mean, we're talking, you know, asylum cheap here, basically. The sets aren't particularly great, but having said that, the actual cast are actually pretty decent in this. The team that he's got, you know, I can't remember the name of the girl in it. So, you know, the one who's actually the real badass on the team. I thought she was pretty good. There's a bit where
Isabella.
Yeah, there's a bit where she rips somebody's ears off in a fight, and you actually hear them bounce off the floor, like because they're made of plastic. You know.
One of the things is that, don't you think this film at times it's surprisingly violent?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, Jesus, hang on a minute. It's like you're watching quite a light light frothy movie, and then some of the it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. That gets the rating up.
Absolutely. I mean, Kelsey Grammer is an interesting actor. I mean, he had this long-running sitcom, well, 2 sitcoms, Cheers and Frasier, that he was involved in. His sort of film work as a lead hasn't really sort of pulled off. I mean, he was in Down Periscope, I don't know what, 20 years ago now?
Yeah, about 98.
Sort of police academy style comedy about a submarine, which I must admit I do like a lot. So as a film actor, he hasn't sort of really sort of gained much traction, but he's sort of been doing these sort of little roles. I mean, he pops up in the Expendables 3 for God's sake,
and he was Beast in the X-Men. That was random,
exactly.
And he was really good at it.
And it was, and recently he was in Guardians of the Tomb, which is surprisingly good. I really enjoyed that one, and now this, where he's playing this bad guy, but. Each time he is, he's worth watching. He's very entertaining. He plays this role with gusto, and there's another actor we've had to sort of sit through recently, and you just think, oh, I wish he could just take all his roles. I wish he could just sort of come in and, we're going to go in a different direction now. We're going to go with Kelsey. Yeah,
I think it's fair. Let's say who it is, because I think it's fair enough.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
fucking Bruce Willis.
It's just not really much of a presence, and it's really funny that you sent a comment through about saying, "Oh, I wish he'd have Bruce Willis's role," and I replied back saying, it's really funny because when I was watching it, I was basically thinking exactly the same thing of how much more he was bringing to the role in exactly the kind of role that could have been cast with Bruce Willis, but Grammer, who is not the sort of guy you would expect to be comparable to Bruce Willis, is so much better. He's put in all that effort. Like you say, it's proper gusto, and he's I loved all his. He's a consistent presence. They keep going back to him, and you just love every scene you watch with him. He brings such a lot to the movie.
Yeah, as I said, Adam Copeland, I've seen in a couple of films of his under the WWE banner. There's one where he was a detective. Yeah, he actually had short hair in that one as well. He was a detective trying to interrogate a terrorist, and that was actually quite good with a decent payoff, and I can't remember what it's called. But there was another one where he was like a private investigator, and it was like a real sort of affable sort of comedies kind of thing. So yeah.
Well, that one where he was interrogating someone was called Interrogation.
Oh, well, there you go.
This is the first time I've seen him in anything, to be honest, and I know he's done other stuff like episodes of The Flash and things, but yeah, I quite liked him. I thought he was quite. I mean, it's one of those heist movies with the sort of lovable rogue characters, isn't it? And I thought he sort of pulled that off quite well. He's not. It's trying to be Ocean's 11, and he's not George Clooney, obviously. But
No.
for what they're trying to do, I thought he did quite well. It's better than it would have much better than it would have turned out with some other people. Like if they'd have tried to make it a Steven Seagal thing, for example, like End of a Gun, which was a bit of a heist movie, but they didn't really have the constituent parts, and it just didn't really work very well. This one, all the bits are there. It's just the concept is so. It's quite out there for one thing, but they just haven't got the resources to give it its due.
They went the right way.
They're on the plane. They're doing this heist thing and everything up there, and you're just like, come on, how lax is the security on this plane of like ultimate, evil people?
It's quite funny. It's quite funny because they do the run through. Where he explains the plan and you see that being acted out, and usually that would be like, oh, that's the way we want the plan to go, but oh no, there's a fly in the ointment and it's all gone horribly wrong and we have to do this and differently. But in this one, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what happens. It goes exactly to plan almost, right from the off. And it's just a case of needing the time to do it. I mean, there's one aspect which was quite amusing, which didn't really have the depth it needed, but the whole actual gambling bit, because the idea is, this airplane is, it's in international waters or airspace.
Airspace, yeah.
So therefore, we can do what we want. Not, the fact that it doesn't actually work like that is beside the point. So they're gambling on really weird shit all the way through. It's like his friend has to and he ends up in a Russian roulette game, which is quite amusing. And he keeps
I love the
winning.
payoff.
Yeah,
It was a great payoff.
But then he's sort of like going, "Oh, you got to give us a time." He's got, I don't know, 17 minutes or something. And he goes, "Oh, well done." So, good bet. So, and it turns out it's a bet to find out how long somebody will live after being bitten by a cobra. It's sort of stupid stuff like this, which is quite amusing. But yeah, it just didn't have. It needed about another sort of $50,000 or something for the sets, and tighten up the editing a bit. But it's almost there. It was definitely in the right direction. They definitely had the right cast for this, but it lacks polish. Basically, is what it is.
Are you familiar with the guy who played the concierge?
No,
Joey Lawrence. So he was like a teen heartthrob.
Oh, he's out in Blossom.
In Blossom and stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
So, and his brother. Well, basically, the movie is directed by the youngest Lawrence brother, Andrew Lawrence, and so his brothers play the concierge and the cowboy. Yeah, the Russian roulette game character, and they're all former child stars basically, and so I thought that was quite interesting to see what this guy's doing. This guy's the lesser known of those. He wasn't as big, but they used to do a sitcom all together and all that sort of thing. So this is a very different kind of thing for him to do. And I thought Joey Lawrence was actually pretty good in that concierge role. But I just, again, the problem was they didn't have the whole scale of it was just off. It just didn't fit. I mean, the one I really like is the bloke who's the second in command who sort of lays out the rules. Games. And I don't know what that actor's name is, but I've seen him in a few things. I really like him a lot. I think he's great, and he brings something quite good to it. Just to go back to the director, I don't know if you remember the Mr. Bean movie, the first one, but he was the boy who makes friends with Mr. Bean.
All right.
And that was about 20 years ago.
That's 23 years ago. So yeah.
Yeah. So his career. So yeah, so that's who he is. So I'd say apart from some of the set dressing, and the garish red lighting and some of the choices, I thought it was fine, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree. So what are you going to score it, Rich?
I'm going to have to score it mainly for grammar. I'm going to give it 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to join you on a 6. The cast is great. The sets are a bit wonky, and a few other little bits and pieces which could have been tied up. But overall, this was quite entertaining. So yeah, 2 6s out of 10 for Money Plane. Our next review is Paydirt. After serving 5 years in prison for marijuana possession, Dominic Brooks, aka the Brit, puts his old gang back together with the aim of recovering millions of dollars he managed to hide from both the DEA and his old boss. However, neither side are letting bygones be bygones. I sort of made a bit of a cryptic message to you guys earlier, like welcome to 2006, because I am fucking sick to death of in media res and bloody credit sort of name cards coming up, sort of explaining who everyone is. So this film kicks off with these 5 bloody people all being introduced with stupid bloody pirate names.
We've got the Brit, the Babe, the Badass,
the
Brains,
and the Brawn,
the Don.
So they're all B's. Why didn't they call this film
Except
the 5
the Don.
B's? What? Who?
Except the Don.
The Don. Oh yeah. Fuck him. Anyway. So we got Val Kilmer as the DEA sheriff guy who he sort of cocks up this raid. That's right. There are 2 corrupt DEA agents involved as well. There's this whole Latino gang going on. There's a lot of different pieces. It's one of those sort of Shaggy Dog stories kind of thing. But in the center of it, you got a pretty decent performance from Mark Goss.
Luke Goss.
Luke Goss.
Goss.
I see. As soon as I said it, I knew it was wrong. It was no. I see other brothers. So anyway, yes, Luke Goss doing a very good job holding this film together. It has its moments, that's for sure. But I mean, that opening sequence, Rich. I mean, what a way to start a film! It is just so bloody jumbled. They might as well have done in media res.
It's a bit. Well, do you mean like the bit where he's?
You got the Latino boss sort of, you know,
Yeah.
digging in the
Digging up.
thing, and then all of a sudden you got Luke Goss stood in the middle of this oil field, or
staring into
staring
the
at nothing. Oh, and then it sort of hit his arrest and things. It was a jumbled mess. You know, why isn't there anyone watching this going, what was that? Why did you start your film in such a fucked up way? I just don't understand. I really don't.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, Steve, have you had a chance to catch up with this one?
I saw about probably about 25 minutes. I started watching it last night and then fell asleep.
Did you fall asleep because you were tired or because you were bored?
Because I was knackered. It weren't to do with the film, to be fair.
Right.
I mean, I was quite enjoying it, you know, to a point. But like Mike said, you've got all the way it is introduced. It's well, I think Mike said today on the message, it's 2006 again, and I just said it reminded me of Lock, Stock.
Yeah, exactly. Lock, Stock, 1998, I think.
Yeah, so like yeah.
You know, then we had like, you know, the Smoking Aces and the Losers. They both use the same thing. I'm sure I've seen other stupid films that do it. You know, or films which don't even bother giving their characters proper names. You know, it just drives me around the twist.
Really. What, like that blooming Christopher Nolan, that Tenet?
I haven't seen that yet. I don't know much about Tenet, actually. I'm sort of like avoiding it until
I think he's just credited as protagonist, the main guy.
Oh God, that's just pathetic. I mean, seriously, it's like going, protagonist, you know.
Oh, we've hit a nerve here, haven't we, Mike?
Hmm?
We've hit a nerve here, haven't we?
You know, if this had been the one that had the drone, you'd have had a hat trick.
Oh no, yeah. Mike's nadir of DTV land bingo, basically. Jesus, everything Mike hates about DTV.
Okay, well, I'm going to step in and say what I did like about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I did quite like some of the film's got an interesting tone because it's quite comical at points, and then other points that like they drop out the comedy entirely, and it sort of feels like it changes into a different movie. But some of the comedy, I thought there were some lines that worked really well. So I quite like. So for example, or not even a line, but there's a bit where Val Kilmer's sitting on a bench. And somebody comes up and gives him money. He's a homeless man, which I thought was really great.
Yeah.
And I liked, because I wasn't expecting it. I mean, Luke Goss has got a very well established career as a leading man in Hollywood these days, but I've not seen a huge amount of his films, and this is probably the first time I've seen him do one where he's actually using his English accent, because he's usually playing Americans. So that was a nice surprise to see him actually using his real voice. Val Kilmer, I quite liked seeing him, although I'm pretty sure he was dubbed.
All right.
Yeah.
Like most of the time by somebody else because of his throat cancer recovery and all that. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw The Snowman, the Michael Fassbender film.
Yeah.
But he was so obviously dubbed in that movie. And this is a couple of years later, and I think he's had a bit more recovery. But so a few of the lines might have been his, or he's gone in for looping maybe, or somebody else has done it. But there's definitely a disconnect between what you're seeing when you're hearing.
I definitely got that.
That's quite understandable. The plot itself was a bit confusing for me. So kind of you're going along for the ride, and then there's a massive explanation right at the end to try and fit the pieces together, and that, which is a bit in terms of sort of heist movies and stuff. I think whereas like Money Plane was like Ocean's 11, this is more like an out of sight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Jackie Brown, all those sorts of sorts of tales. And yeah, it's convoluted. Characters are quite interesting. Some of them. I didn't like the brains. He was annoying. I liked the brawn. The brawn was probably my favourite supporting character. I'm not remembering what their actual names were, but
yeah, I mean, to be fair, they do actually have real names in the film.
They do.
But there is at least one point where one of his own crew refers to Luke Goss as Brit or even.
Oh, they call
Brit.
him the Brit all the time. Yeah.
Just fucking annoying.
Oh, another thing I liked was Val Kilmer shares the screen with his daughter Mercedes.
Yeah.
And they've got a couple of nice little.
They do, yeah.
Together.
So one thing I did enjoy about Luke Goss's character as well is the fact that he's been in prison for 5 years and comes out, and there's certain technological and cultural things he just doesn't understand.
Oh yeah.
You know, which was quite amusing. The sort of kind of you don't have cable. You don't have cable, but you can use a fire stick, and such and such is an influencer now, and it's like, what the fuck's an influencer? And then they explain it to him. He's going, what? Which I thought was quite good. So overall, this is relatively entertaining. It is, despite the things I really don't like about it, but it does has its moments. It doesn't offend or anything like that. It goes along at a reasonable pace. I've seen the director Christian Sesma. He's been working with Luke Goss before. I've seen The Night Crew, and that was actually quite enjoyable. Had a bit more sort of story to it than this. A bit more momentum.
What about AWOL 72?
I'm pretty sure I've seen it. I just can't remember anything about it.
Uh-huh. No, I do want to. I'm quite interested to catch that. He's made. Lewis Mandlaw's in that, and there's quite a few other people like RZA, and that. There's quite a few. I quite like Luke Goss, but I haven't seen a huge amount of his films. Probably of all the stars, he's probably the one I'm drawn to least. Vigilante Diaries, I think. Luke Goss wasn't in that one, but Chris Sesma did Vigilante Diaries as well. He's got quite a list of films that he's made. I thought this was fine, but yeah, very, very much influenced, perhaps too obviously, by a lot of better movies. It's not. I think comparing it with Money Plane again, that's got like a big concept and not the money to carry it off. Whereas this is a simple tale of criminals in the desert.
Yeah.
They're
it's
not
nicely shot. I mean, that scene at the end where they're in the in that sort of palm tree area, and you got that sort of drone shot from above. It looks really, really good. There's some really nice photography going on within.
Although, is this the one with the bad exterior shot of the plane flying, where it just looks like it's like somebody's cut out a picture of a plane and held it up in front of the camera? Yeah, it's just like, why does that look so bad? But the rest of it sort of looks okay. But yeah, I think if you like these sort of criminal tales and shaggy dog story type things and vaguely amusing characters, I think it's worth a look. On that note, I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10.
Well, I'm going to drop one below, and I keep this one to a 6 for different reasons. To Money Plane, obviously, but it's certainly watchable. It's reasonably entertaining. So check it out. Our third feature review this week is Widow's Point. Thomas Livingston is an author looking to return to his horror writing roots with a non-fiction book about a haunted lighthouse called Widow's Point. As a teaser gimmick for the book, Livingston has himself locked inside for the weekend with no way of contacting anyone. What at first seems just a publicity stunt soon turns sinister as he is besieged by strange goings-on. So this stars Craig Scheffer, who is probably best known for his role in the films.
Nightbreed.
Nightbreed.
That's the one. Yeah. Which was back in the 90s, early 90s.
1990.
bang on 1990. I quite liked doing this. I must admit, it's not quite a one-man show. On the outside, there's his publicist and his assistant and a cameraman who, they've got a feed into the lighthouse, but they don't. Sort of Livingston doesn't have any access to it. It's very cheap. It has a great location, but overall it's very cheap. There's no sort of bells and whistles going on here until the end, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly. But I'm going to throw this one over to you, Steve, to begin with. What do you think of Widow's Point?
It started off okay, and then went straight downhill, to be fair. I thought his performance at the start was quite good. Everyone else was absolutely terrible. And like you say in the ending, where the fuck did that come from? Because there's no.
No, it was hinted at. There's a couple of little bits that I picked up on it throughout.
There's a couple of etchings. And that is it. And it just came out of nowhere. Oh no! I mean, it starts off not too bad. The old guy at the beginning is just overhammering it for everything, and it was more the throwback pieces, like the poker game, where I've got to act jolly, so I'm going to bellow as loud as I can. Things like that. And then when he gets locked in the lighthouse, and obviously, I don't want to spoil it, but descends into madness. It was just so far over the top. Even Jack Nicholson be pissing himself, you know what I mean? It was that bad. Yeah, no.
Rich, what did you make of Widow's Peak? Sorry, carry on. I didn't realise you were in mid. I didn't realise you were in mid rant there, Steve. Carry on.
It's the music as well. It was so overbearing. I know, you watch a horror film and it gives you it's bang, bang, bang.
At other points,
constantly.
Steve, at other points, didn't you think? Hang on a minute, this just sounds like somebody messing about on a keyboard, like not really knowing what keys they're putting, like my son upstairs going ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, exactly. No,
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, Rich.
I'm done ranting.
You're done, right, for now. Take a breath. Rich, what did you make of Widow's Point and its amateur dramatics?
I think actually you saying that amateur dramatics thing sort of that actually is a pretty good observation. The especially like Steve was saying, those flashback scenes and that there is very much a sort of cheap amdram quality to them. They're not particularly convincing. It's quite a visually dull film. For the most part, and there's not really a lot to, the location's nice, but it just doesn't feel, it's not filmed in a way that's, captivating. It's just kind of there, and even the interiors and stuff. So the film itself was structured with the exteriors of the lighthouse, then it was filmed in a different lighthouse for the interiors of the actual lighthouse, so those winding stairs that he keeps getting stuck on and stuff. And then there's the soundstage stuff, which is really obvious. It's like you get to the end part where he's going full on. You get actors who go full Nicolas Cage, and I think in this one it feels to me like he goes full Gary Busey. He's getting so nuts at the end. And let's be honest, this is based on a novel by two guys, Billy Shizmar and Richard Shizmar. That it's a total. We've seen this before, like at least a dozen times or something, I guess. But The Shining is the main one that you would always think of. There's been variations. Even Stephen King's done variations like 1408, where a guy goes stays in a haunted place and whatever, and is he going to go mad and gets messed about with and stuff. So we've seen it all before, better. And really, for me, Scheffer is the only reason to watch it. I did have fun with his one-man show, because it kind of turns into that sort of one-man show kind of thing. It feels very theatrical. The stuff on the sound stage where he's going a bit mad and he's sort of looking at the camera, it does feel like you're in the audience of a theatre show more than a movie. But I did quite enjoy his mental breakdown stuff, but the rest of it just wasn't really. And then weird floaty thing coming in again. That did seem quite Stephen Kingish. That happening at the end, but also it made me think of things like H.P. Lovecraft.
I think that's what they're aiming for, is Lovecraft. Which,
but So, what did you find much to
I actually like this for the most part. Okay, it is low budget. It is very low budget. So but I actually quite like those little vignettes as well. The thing about them. The film crew that were filming there with the actress who was like from the soap opera and and all that sort of stuff. I thought that was actually quite well done. There is a quite nice bit in there where you don't realise it to begin with, but the two kids who are dead are sort of running around outside, sort of things like that. And the actual haunting bit as well, considering they got no budget. So and there was some stupid stuff like there's somebody walking behind him. Or going across the screen, no, that's just pathetic.
Can I just interject and say what my favourite one of those was? It's the hand on the shoulder.
Oh yeah. Oh, you scared me.
They do
really?
3 times.
Yeah. But the considering they got zero budget for haunty stuff. The fact I like the fact that all his water suddenly became seawater, so he didn't have anything to drink, and his food was all perished and things. And then the thing with the stairs, because he mentions at the beginning that there's 59 steps up to the top of the lighthouse, and then he's carrying them later on. He's like, 99? What the fuck? How the hell am I sort of stuck?
He keeps going around in that loop, and the one that pops. I mean, again, we've seen that before. The one that pops into my mind now is I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street 4. He keeps running out of the cinema and then ending up back in the cinema or something, and then sort of going in this, running in a circle.
Yeah, Grave Encounters is the one I thought of actually, sort of watching that. So Craig Scheffer himself is pretty good. There was that one particular flashback with the girl when she finds the cave with the sort of the cave drawing on it, and that's when I sort of perked up a bit. I'm thinking, well, if you're going to show us that, you've got to do something with it. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, I'm glad they did show us something at the end, but didn't have the money to sort of really do it. I'm thinking, well, if only someone like John Carpenter had this script, it would have been sort of a lot tighter and maybe sort of done it a bit of justice. But I think overall, I didn't mind it at all. And I actually didn't mind the soundtrack. Actually, the music at the beginning I thought was actually quite good.
Some of it I just thought was really either too tinkly. I don't really know. I'm just sort of pressing the keys, or it was just repetitive, which is one of the things I hate about some film music. Is just when you're just hearing the same piece of music just all the time.
Oh yeah.
But so I'm glad you enjoyed it. We didn't. It's interesting that the director Gregory Lamberson. This seems to be quite a change of pace for him, because having a look at his filmography, he does seem to work in the micro budget horror sort of realm, but his films tend to, based on the covers, because I've never seen one, but based on the posters, they do seem to be more sort of exploitational or over the top, whereas this film is it's got a very nice poster and stuff. It's very atmospheric kind of shot of this lighthouse. Now it pitches a completely different kind of movie to what he's done before with films like Killer Rack, I think was one of them.
His filmography reminds me of Jim. Is it Jim Wynorski that? Stormtrooper and things like that. Yeah, it's very very much in that sort of vein. But okay, so Rich, what are you going to score Widow's Point?
I'm going to go for a 5 on this one.
And Steve?
4.
Well, I'm going to go with a high 5. I want to give it a 6, but just can't. But yeah, so 2 5s and a 4 for Widow's Peak. I enjoyed it for what it was. Rich and Steve, not so much. So take from that what you will. Our short shot this week is We Die Alone. Aidan is an insular, insecure young man who finds it almost impossible to talk to women. When he accidentally hits it off with his new neighbour, Chelsea, it looks like she might be the one he's been looking for after all. I really like this one, guys. It's a decent short. It sort of sets up a certain sort of premise and expectation. And then it sort of like does a good sort of about turn and delivers something else at the end. Really good performance by Baker Jace Powell as Aidan, I think, in this one. He does really well sort of coming across as this sort of nervous sort of guy. I mean, he's guilty at the beginning of catfishing. He sort of sets up these dates with these women, but he just can't sort of follow through at the last minute, which is where we meet him at the beginning. But sort of gains a certain amount of confidence when he's sort of he's around Chelsea. So Steve, over to you first.
Yeah, no, it's really enjoyable, this one, actually. Like you say, you've got the twist, which didn't really see coming, to be fair. And he's one of them. He's a nice, just a bit of a lonely kind of guy, you know. Geeky, can't speak to women apart from the co-worker.
Yeah. Who's called Elaine.
Elaine?
Yep,
Elaine, that's the one, yeah. Who I think, you know, seems a bit older than him, but I think she definitely wants to get with him.
Yeah.
That's the impression I got. You know, she's like edging on, and then she sees this new girl, and I think it's really well shot, really well acted. I don't think it's one of them you could stretch out into a feature. I think it's nice and tight as it is.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, but no, it was really enjoyable. To be fair,
Richard, what do you think?
Well, I think Aidan's mad for not getting with Elaine.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because you know, it's, he doesn't see what's right in front of him. He can't see the wood for the trees, basically.
Yeah, I think you've got to make a good point there. That's probably the idea of it. The main part of the story, and his character Aidan, I wasn't really, I was watching it. It's fine, but I wasn't really sold. But the about face that it does at the end was really great. That's what sells it to me as something that I would say is recommended to watch, because I think it's the kind of thing we've probably seen before, but it's handled really well. I mean, the problem is when we're talking about it now and people know this. I mean, so if they'll probably experience it differently. But if you're seeing this without hearing us saying there's a twist coming, the way we did, it really comes out of left field, and it's done so well. And yeah, I really like that payoff. It's not even just like a right at the end thing. It's
Oh no, that's right. Yeah.
A chunk of the running of it's a 24 film, and it's it probably takes its twist, a reasonable way through there, to give some sort of development to that thing that it does, that it introduces. So yeah, that's the point where I enjoyed it from, I think.
There's a couple of nice bits in the script where you get a bit of foreshadowing. There's a bit at the beginning when Chelsea sees that he does these jigsaws, and she says something along the lines of, I used to do these as a kid, or I love doing jigsaws, and I love sort of finishing them and then breaking them up and doing them again, and there's when he finally calls her as well, or rather she calls him, because he leaves the note, and it's like he says, "Oh, do you want to come around and do a jigsaw?" And there's just a pause before she responds, You can see her mind working, or you can almost hear her mind working before she says "okay." And it's sort of when if you watch it twice, you sort of pick up on it, because obviously what happens, and you can sort of see why she sort of comes through that way. I thought Baker Chase Powell. I mean, I've seen another short that they did called Vexed, where he plays a completely different character. So he's not just sort of playing one type. And I like the fact that when we first meet him, he's this nervous guy trying to sort of recite this speech that he's come up with. And there's a point where he gets hold of Chelsea's camisole, not through any sort of nefarious means, but happenstance. But because he's able to put that on his mannequin, he gains a certain amount of confidence. He's a bit more sort of debonair and suave all of a sudden. We've got a sort of different look in his eye. And then when sort of he finds out that Chelsea doesn't stay in one place very long, it all starts crumbling around him, and that's why he becomes more desperate. At that moment, which I thought was quite good, because he'd already sort of sort of projected onto her all his wants and needs, so we say.
Yeah, you mentioned the mannequin there. He sits down for dinner with his mannequin and stuff, doesn't he?
So I mean, this is the thing as well, isn't it? I mean, I mentioned the fact that he's basically catfishing these women. Not in any sort of nasty way, but he's able to sort of be a different persona online than he can be in real life, and he's able to sort of charm these women up to a point until they want to physically meet, and then it just goes to bits. And we find that he's got this shoebox full of cut out women's faces, sort of from photos and things that he's been using for his mannequin over time. And can you imagine him actually getting to a date or getting to know someone, and then they find the mannequin and the shoebox?
Yeah.
I mean, he'd end up in a mental asylum, wouldn't he? After that sort of catastrophe. But this is really good. I mean, we've seen quite a few films recently, Rich, which play around with sort of traditional horror genre tropes and traditions, and this is another one in that stead, I think. Mm-hmm. Cool. So I actually I was able to interview the director of this, a guy called Mark Cartwright, and Baker Chase Powell for that matter, and I shall put a link on the footnotes for that as well as the actual short, so please check out both. That is We Die Alone, a very good short indeed. Our DTV throwback this week is Sabotage. After a hostage rescue goes wrong, Special Operative Bishop is court-martialed and discharged from the military, going into close protection work instead. However, when his new boss is targeted by the same person who sabotaged his last mission, Bishop finds himself working alongside FBI agent Castle to unravel a deadly conspiracy. So I think I saw this about 3 years ago, when it was released by 101 Films on Blu-ray, along with a few really bad Albert Pyun movies. I really liked it at the time. I actually like it more now. I think this is really good. So this stars Mark Dacascos as Bishop, of the erstwhile Special Forces assassin. He teams up with Carrie Anne Moss, who's absolutely brilliant in this, as Special Agent Castle. We also have Tony Todd as our main bad guy, but he's also supported by Graham Greene, sort of the Native American actor who was in the likes of Dances with Wolves and Thunderheart, opposite Val Kilmer back in the day. Film I really enjoyed as well. I really liked this when it first came out, when it was re-released, I should say, by 101 Films, and I think I like it even more now than I did then. Rich, what did you make of this?
Yeah, I saw it when it came out. It was made in '96. It came out here on video, obviously pan and scan, '97. Revisiting it, it's nice to see it in a widescreen version. It's it reminds me. You remember a while back we watched Silent Trigger with Dolph Lundgren.
Yep.
I felt a similar kind of movie, similar kind of tone to a lot of it. It's very much kind of a slow burn thriller. There's a couple of similar elements, mistrust and conspiracy theories and things going on in it. For me, there's a lot of really good bits in it, and good moments and things to recommend it. One of which is the cast, which is really good, as you've said, and also includes John Neville, who played Baron Munchausen, I think, in Terry Gilliam's film, if I recall correctly. I think he was in he's been in loads of other stuff, but he's good. But overall, I think the film's a bit too slowly paced for me, and especially in the midsection, it's a bit sluggish for me there. The opening's quite interesting. When I was watching the what is it? So you start out with, you've got the mission going wrong kind of prologue to the story, and then we flash forward, and this is where the Bishop and Tony Todd's character, who is called Sherwood, where they cross paths again, because Sherwood was, basically Sherwood shoots Dacascos at the start, and then now here he is trying to kill his Mark again. So Bishop is under suspicion, but there's a whole thing going on with stuff, and chess is a theme, as our friend Tom Jolliffe, who wrote a piece about this recently, pointed out. There's a chess theme. Dacascos' character is called Bishop, and Carrie Anne Moss's one is called Castle. So there isn't a piece called The Castle, but you know what I mean. There's that sort of theme going on, I get that. It's mostly enjoyable for the cast. There's a couple of nice action beats at the start when Dacascos is chasing. He's not chasing him. He's trying to get to Sherwood, who's on top of a building miles away, and he does like a jump across. There's a bit where he runs across traffic and stuff, and it looks like there's a couple of he's doing as much as possible himself.
So really roll across the bonnet of a car, obviously getting hit and things.
Yeah, that was it. There's the what is it? Oh yeah, there's a bit of the again, like Silent Trigger. It must have been a thing around that sort of time. These massive guns, these huge bullets and stuff. So that's quite a feature.
50,
we get these
50 caliber guns, 50 caliber rifles. Yeah.
But what's interesting is they do like these bullet time-ish kind of bullet shots. And this was 3 years before The Matrix, which also has got Carrie Anne Moss in it.
But it was after Sniper, wasn't it? After the Tom Berenger movie.
But did that do that? Did Sniper do? Yeah,
had a similar sort of thing.
It's probably the other people have done it as well, but I thought that that jumped out at me. It was nice to see again. This was made by Tibor Takas, who's most well known, or was most well known originally for the film The Gate with Stephen Dorff and that, but then kind of went into DTV action. This was the first of 3 features that he did with Dacascos. So he did Redline with Rutger Hauer, and then Sanctuary, and he also did some work on The Crow, Stairway to Heaven TV series. So they've obviously had a good working relationship. All of that stuff I thought was average. Basically, I haven't, this is not the mark. Dacascos has a lot of great star quality, and he is a good lead here. We don't get to see him. This is not him doing his martial arts and stuff, which is a bit disappointing, but that's fine, because he's an actor who does different kinds of roles, and here we get to see more of Dacascos, the actor. But I would have liked a little bit more action. What else is there to say, really? I don't know. I think it was nice to see it again, but it didn't blow my mind or anything.
It's not a mind-blowing film, and it's not going to knock your socks off, but I did admire it. There's a certain amount of attention to detail going on in here. Just sort of little things, really. The whole thing about the sort of sniper rifles, the fact that when they sort of they've got one of the guns in custody, sort of thing, and Dacascos wants to look at it, and Carrie Anne Moss, tells him to put some bloody gloves on before handling it. Just little things like that, which a lot of films would have skipped. To be fair, Carrie Anne Moss's character I thought was great. She has a great line at the beginning when she butts heads with the sort of the local police, and she goes, "Oh, you can go make me a cup of coffee." He goes, "What? I'm not making a cup of coffee." So, well, you're useless to me. Then get off my crime scene. Just little things like that. I thought was really good.
The character's got a really good arc, hasn't it?
Yes. It goes very dark at the end. I just love the bit where Graham Greene's character is trying to play along as if nothing's happened. He's like, "Oh no, we think we found your daughter," and just like, "Yeah, whatever," and just blows him away. So yeah, no, I thought overall this was pretty decent. It could be a bit shorter, could be a bit tighter, but overall, the whole conspiracy thing's a bit murky. But I thought the action was good. There's some nice sort of shootouts and things going on. Overall,
Tony Todd's great, obviously.
Tony Todd is very good in this.
He goes missing sort of the middle part of the movie, and I think that was one of the things that sort of made the film suffer a bit, because he just brings, again, there's just something about his presence and that he just brings that, elevates the material. That somebody else could have played that character and just been completely forgettable.
Exactly.
And he's just got this. He's just got this status and that. I mean, it's a bit like his character in The Rock, which I think he made around the same time.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this. I think it has got a bit more attention to detail than usual for this sort of film, like certain other films, which we will talk about in another episode. We don't score these ones, but we will mention that it's available on Amazon Prime. If you're a subscriber, it's free. This is definitely a decent watch, so go check it out. Okay, so that is the end of this week's show. If you like what you hear, then let us know. We are available on Facebook and Twitter as the DTV Digest. You can also get hold of us on email at the dtvdigest@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you. So get in touch. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to the DTV Digest. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and tune in again next time.